The Galactic Strategy Academy was considered the apex of military education in the known galaxy. Located in a neutral sector and boasting instructors from dozens of advanced civilizations, it produced the commanders who would go on to shape galactic wars. Entry was highly restricted. Only the brightest minds from the most powerful species earned admission. And yet, this year, something unprecedented occurred. A human cadet had been accepted. Zara Chen arrived without ceremony. No entourage. No speech, just a silent, observant presence in a plain academy uniform. She walked with the quiet confidence of someone used to walking alone. Her registration had already caused waves among the faculty. Humans, classified as deathworlders due to the savage and hazardous nature of their home planet, were considered too volatile, too unrefined for high-level command roles in civilized militaries. Most species viewed them with a mix of curiosity and caution, like intelligent predators who hadn't yet been domesticated. The reaction among the cadets was no, better. The Zarnathi, proud veterans of the century-spanning Star Collapse War, scoffed at her presence. The Valari, who valued telepathic communication and collective wisdom, found her internal silence unnerving. She didn't speak unless directly asked a question. She didn't bond with anyone. She didn't even display frustration when she was openly mocked. That only made them more uncomfortable. To Zara, the ridicule meant nothing. She wasn't there to make friends. She was there to learn everything she could, and more importantly, to observe. The Academy's primary instructor, Commander Ralvek, was a towering Zarnathi with 6 arms and cybernetic implants from war injuries. He didn't hide his skepticism of Zara's presence. You may observe, but don't expect your primitive instincts to guide you through real strategy, he told her during the first lecture. This is intellect, not instinct. Calculation, not chaos. Zara nodded once and said nothing. That day's class focused on historical fleet engagements. One in particular was highlighted, the Battle of Arxan Ridge, a tactical masterpiece where a smaller Zarnathi fleet annihilated a larger force using perfect formation discipline and predictive targeting algorithms. The battle had since become a simulation challenge for students, used to test their grasp of high-level command logic. Commander Ralvek announced the upcoming simulation module, where each cadet would be part of a team assigned to defeat a simulated version of the Zarnathi fleet from that battle. When the teams were formed, no one invited Zara to join. Some ignored her entirely. Others openly rejected her. Ralvek allowed it without comment. Let her observe, he said. If she wishes, she may attempt the simulation solo when the others are finished. Zara gave no visible reaction. She simply nodded and continued reviewing the battle data. Despite being left out, Zara showed up to every pre-simulation meeting, took detailed notes, and studied late into the night, always alone. She memorized not just the Zarnathi tactics but the behavioral patterns of her classmates, their assumptions, their styles, their egos. They didn't realize it, but Zara was preparing not just for the simulation. She was preparing for all of them, quiet, watching, calculating. The girl from the death world had come to win, not through brute strength, but with something far more dangerous. Human unpredictability. The day of the simulation arrived, and anticipation buzzed through the Academy Strategy Hall. Cadets from across the galaxy filled the auditorium-sized room where fleet simulations were projected in full 3-dimensional space. This wasn't just a training exercise, it was a rite of passage. Every cadet had studied the legendary Battle of Arxan Ridge, a symbol of Zarnathi tactical supremacy. The Academy dared its students to break the unbreakable, defeat the Zarnathi fleet in a controlled sim based on that historical encounter. Teams of cadets stepped up, confident and eager. Each had identical digital fleets of cruisers, interceptors, and long-range artillery frigates. Their opponent was a hardened AI, programmed with the original battle's Zarnathi formation, tactics, and combat behavior. An opponent undefeated. For 3 Academy cycles, Commander Ralvek stood at the front, arms crossed. Your task is simple, he said. Break through the formation. Destroy the flagship. outthink the best. The first team, led by a Valari cadet, took their position. They tried a flanking maneuver, coordinating fire with telepathic precision. Their approach was textbook, tight, efficient, and fast, and still they failed. The Zarnathi formation predicted every move, adapted instantly, and dismantled their fleet in less than 4 minutes. The next team tried a brute force frontal assault, more aggressive, less precise. It too ended in disaster. One by one, teams attempted different variants of known tactics. All failed. The simulated Zarnathi fleet was relentless, its coordination nearly perfect, exploiting the smallest gaps in timing or positioning. Zara Chen watched quietly from the back, hands folded, behind her. As each failure unfolded, her gaze remained fixed, not on the battles but on the faces of her classmates. She was studying them, not just the sim. Eventually, only she remained. Commander Ralvek raised an eyebrow. "Human," he said, the word still tasting strange on his tongue. "You've observed enough. If you wish to embarrass yourself, now is the time." Zara stepped forward without a word. No teammates, no applause. No one expected anything except swift failure. The other cadets leaned in, curious to see what chaos the Death Worlder would unleash. Surely she would rush forward or try some crude trick, just like her kind, always reactive, never refined. But what she did was stranger than anyone predicted. Zara set her fleet into a disjointed formation. Some ships broke away immediately, others drifted without engagement. Several appeared to be fleeing. A few even shut down active sensors entirely, making it seem like she'd forgotten them. Whispers rippled through the class. What is she doing? She's panicking. She's lost. But she wasn't. As the sim began, Zara initiated subtle feints. Small ships moved into nebula fields to scramble. Signatures. Drones launched in randomized directions. A cluster of her units drew fire, only to reveal too late they were decoys loaded with electronic interference. Then, without warning, her true assault began. Instead of confronting the Zarnathi head-on, she split her forces in erratic bursts, attacking from unpredictable vectors, exploiting data lag in the enemy's formation update cycle. The Zarnathi fleet, designed to counter rational, orderly logic, began to falter. Its algorithm struggled to classify her chaotic strategy. Suddenly, gaps opened. One by one, she struck key ships, collapsing their sensor network. And in the final minute, she drove a hidden corvette straight through the confusion and detonated its payload beside the flagship. The sim paused. Zara had won. Silence gripped the auditorium. The simulation froze mid-frame, the Zarnathi flagship visibly breaking apart in the 3D projection, fractal explosions rippling from its core. A red victory banner blinked above Zara's lone fleet. What was left of it? No one said a word. Commander Ralvek stared at the outcome in disbelief. This was the same Zarnathi formation that had withstood hundreds of simulated assaults over the years. Even when instructors secretly modified scenarios to give cadets better odds, the outcome had always been the same: defeat. But Zara had dismantled, using what seemed at first glance like madness. How? A cadet whispered from the back. How did she do that? The simulation restarted in replay mode. This time everyone watched with analytical eyes, expecting to find lucky breaks or system glitches. Instead, they found calculated chaos. Zara's strategy had been anything but random. Her decoys weren't distractions, they were information weapons, saturating the enemy's sensors with false data. By shutting down active scans on some ships, she manipulated threat prioritization algorithms, making her most dangerous units appear irrelevant. She'd predicted that the Zarnathi AI, optimized for logical enemy patterns, would respond rigidly. Its greatest strength had become its fatal flaw. Most cadets had tried to outgun the fleet. Zara had done something entirely different. She had created an environment the system couldn't interpret. Even her fleet's seemingly scattered movement had purpose. By breaking formation early, she introduced unpredictability. Each small skirmish, force the AI to reallocate resources, dragging its attention in too many directions. She overextended the fleet's logic tree, baiting it into inefficient micro-decisions, death by thousands of miscalculations. And then came her final move. The hidden corvette. That ship had been nestled inside the debris cloud of a destroyed drone, cold and silent, indistinguishable from space junk. It bypassed the front entirely, and using the interference field created by the collapsing enemy network, got within critical range and detonated a payload designed to simulate a reactor overload. The flagship's destruction was clean, precise, and unavoidable. Commander. Ralvek's voice cut through the silence. You used cognitive overload tactics on a system that's never been confused. Zara nodded once. No human commander has ever employed this level of information warfare in the sim, he said, narrowing his gaze. Where did you learn this? Zara finally spoke, voice calm and even. Children's games. Hide and seek, misdirection, pattern disruption. It's what we grow up with. That answer was more chilling than triumphant. To the aliens, war had always been a science, a matter of numbers, trajectories, and formations. But to humans, especially those from a death world, survival meant thinking like prey and predator at once. Zara's strategy hadn't come from military doctrine. It came from instinct honed in a world where guessing wrong meant dying young. For the first time, the alien cadets didn't see her as a curiosity. They saw her as a threat. Commander Ralvek, a decorated war veteran who had seen countless battles, gave a single sharp nod. You've exposed a flaw in one of our most sacred tactical doctrines, he said. And you did it alone. Zara returned to her seat without a word. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She didn't need to. The simulation spoke for her. The strategy hall remained quiet long after the simulation ended. No one quite knew how to react. Alien cadets who once scoffed at the human girl now glanced her way with something between fear and admiration. The laughter and whispers were gone. Zara Chen, the silent human from the death world, had done the unthinkable and made it look easy. Commander Ralvek stood at the center of the room, staring up at the final freeze frame of the simulation. The destroyed Zarnathi flagship breaking apart in orbit, Zara's minimal fleet still operational in the distance. He turned toward the class, his expression unreadable. In 3 cycles, no one has come close, he said. You memorized doctrine. She broke it. You emulated victories. She created one. The statement hit harder than any reprimand. Zara had exposed the problem in their teaching, not just the limitations of the simulation, but the very assumptions that underpinned alien military thought. Their strategies were predictable because their minds were trained to think in predictable ways. Ralvek slowly approached Zara's desk. Cadet Chen. Zara looked up calmly. You've rewritten the result of a sacred battle in Zarnathi military history. Do you understand the significance of what you've done? I didn't come to win history, she said evenly. Just the battle in front of me. The answer, though simple, left an impact. It wasn't bravado. It wasn't ego. It was clarity. Ralvek gave a slight nod, the kind only given by warriors to those they respect. Then to the class, he said, effective immediately, the Arkson Ridge simulation will be revised. Cadet Zara Chen's tactics will be archived and included in the curriculum as an alternative victory scenario. All future classes will study it. Gasps rippled through the hall. A human cadet, a death worlder, was being institutionalized into the Galactic Strategy Academy's teachings. No human had ever achieved that. Some cadets struggled with the shift. The Valari, whose consensus-based logic relied on pattern recognition, murmured among themselves. Others, like the insectoid Trakshi, watched Zara with newfound wariness. The idea that a quiet, solitary human could outwit the most revered war machine in the galaxy was deeply unsettling, but one reaction was universal: respect. For the first time, Zara was approached by peers not out of curiosity, but humility. A Zarnathi cadet, one who had mocked her on day 1, offered her a seat in a study group. She declined politely, but nodded in gratitude, The act alone was a tectonic shift in social order. Back in her quarters that night, Zara finally allowed herself a moment of reflection. She didn't bask in the victory. She replayed every move, every delay, every uncertainty in her plan, and asked how it could have failed. That's how humans thought, not in terms of perfection, but survival. Meanwhile, across the academy, instructors gathered to review her simulation. Discussions began about the dangers of linear tactical programming. Some questioned if more humans should be admitted. Others worried what would happen if more species like Zara entered the game. Zara hadn't just won a simulation, she'd shifted the Academy's understanding of warfare. From now on, no one would overlook the silent girl in the corner. And the boy, Galaxy's finest strategist, had learned a new rule. Never assume a quiet human has nothing to say.